Imagine this. Two people walk down the same street on the same rainy day and slip on the same wet pavement. One rises in anger, cursing the world, convinced that life is against them. The other laughs, brushing off the moment as an amusing fluke. The same event, two completely different realities. How is it that identical experiences can create such vastly different responses? Are we truly reacting to reality, or merely to the stories we've been programmed to believe? If our perceptions shape our suffering, then how much of our pain is self-imposed? And more importantly, can we rewrite the script? From the moment we are born, we are handed a script, one we never chose. Parents, teachers, society, they all whisper the rules of reality into our ears before we even understand what reality is. They tell us what is good, what is bad, what is possible, and what is impossible. Over time, these beliefs harden, shaping our thoughts, emotions, and reactions. But here's the problem. Most of these beliefs were never examined. They were absorbed, unquestioned, like ink soaking into paper. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, the inherited mental framework passed down through generations. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of herd morality, the idea that most people blindly follow pre-imposed structures, never daring to step beyond them. Schopenhauer believed that the world is our will and representation, that reality itself is not objective, but shaped by the mind perceiving it. And yet most people never question their perception of the world. They don't realize that they're not reacting to reality. They're reacting to the interpretation of reality that was handed to them. A child scolded for making mistakes grows into an adult paralyzed by fear of failure. A person told that success only comes through suffering may unconsciously sabotage their own happiness, believing it to be undeserved. We operate on autopilot, trapped in fears and limitations that were never ours to begin with. But the most dangerous prisons are not made of steel. They are the invisible ones built inside the mind. So, if our beliefs have been programmed into us, then what happens when we begin to question them? What happens when we realize that reality is not fixed, but flexible? The consequences of this realization are more profound and more unsettling than you might think. Imagine living your entire life inside a house with no windows. The walls are painted with stories, rules of how the world works, warnings of what lies beyond, and instructions on who you should be. You never question them because why would you? This is all you've ever known. But one day, a single crack appears in the wall, letting in a sliver of light. And for the first time, you begin to wonder, what if everything I believed was just a shadow on the wall? This is the silent tragedy of human existence. We live inside mental structures built by others, parents, culture, religion, education, without ever realizing that they are just that, structures. They shape how we love, how we fear, how we define success and failure. They dictate how much happiness we allow ourselves to feel, how much suffering we believe we must endure. Cognitive biases reinforce these illusions. The confirmation bias makes us filter out information that contradicts our beliefs. The status quo bias keeps us clinging to familiar suffering rather than risking unknown freedom. The illusion of control makes us believe that following the script ensures safety, even when the script itself is flawed. When the script itself is flawed. And so we suffer, not because reality is cruel, but because we interpret it through a lens we never chose. Two people can experience the same event. One will feel victimized, the other will laugh. The difference? Their perception, their interpretation, their internal programming. But here's the danger. Most people will never realize this. They will spend their entire lives trapped in prisons of inherited fear, unaware that the key was in their hands all along. What happens when you step outside the walls of perception? What happens when you rewrite the script? Imagine for a moment that everything you believe about yourself, your limitations, your fears, your desires, was planted in your mind like seeds in fertile soil. Some were sown by your parents, others by teachers, society, past experiences. But what if these ideas were never yours to begin with? What if you were never meant to be afraid, never meant to feel small, never meant to follow a path designed by someone else? Breaking free begins with a radical realization. You are not your programming. The thoughts that tell you I can't, I'm not enough, this is just the way things are. They are echoes of past conditioning, not absolute truths. The first act of rebellion is doubt. Question everything. Why do you fear failure? Why do you crave approval? Why do you follow rules that make you miserable? History is filled with those who broke free. The Stoics embraced indifference to external control. Nietzsche declared, "Become who you are." Viktor Frankl found meaning in suffering by realizing that no one could control his response to life. The common thread? They took back their power by shifting perception. You do not have to accept the script you were given. You can rewrite it. The fears that once caged you can dissolve. The limitations imposed by others can be discarded. The moment you stop caring about expectations and start living by your own truth, that is the moment of true freedom. But what happens when you finally see reality as it is? And then it happens. The moment of clarity. You realize that reality was never fixed. It was only ever a reflection of what you believed. The suffering, the fear, the invisible chains binding you to expectations, they were never absolute. They existed only because you accepted them as real. But now, standing on the other side, you see the illusion for what it is. There is no grand authority dictating your worth. No cosmic law demanding that you conform, struggle, or suffer in a prescribed way. The greatest trick society ever played was convincing you that you were powerless, that life was something to be endured rather than shaped. But here's the final truth. Freedom was always yours to claim. Not by force, not by rebellion in the traditional sense, but by the quiet yet radical act of refusing to submit to illusions. The moment you detach from the expectations that once defined you, you become untouchable. You laugh at what once tormented you. You walk forward, unburdened, not because life is perfect, but because you have changed. And in that moment, for the first time, you are truly alive.